And as I got older and this continued to happen, I would study these other concepts. It would happen more. And then as I paid attention to them, they would happen even more. When I was doing hypnotherapy, I noticed that the more people I worked with over and over, I could start to feel their energy or their emotions. After a while, I could kind of feel what they were feeling. I can remember the first time I noticed that I was able to take on different emotions or feelings of others. And there's a good part and there's a bad part.
As I know about you, you are from the military.
That's correct. I have served in the Army and also in the Air Force, and then the National Guard services of the Army and the Air Forces, and then also with the California State Guard, which is a military affiliated organization.
So when did you developed this habit of this interest in spiritualism? How did you believe that this is a real thing?
I am certain that most of the time with the military that they give you these different tools and these different steps, but the opportunity to fully use it or to integrate it into a daily life or to fully explain how important it is, I'm certain that is not happening. And so I learned that to help myself, I started with religion, started to explore and learn more. And as I learned more, I learned about different aspects of spirituality, holistic health, thinking, and I found that it took me out of the black and white thinking, giving me multiple options to see things creatively, see things differently. So it helped me holistically. It helped me in my mind. It helped me in my body, in my health, in my mental health, my emotional health. And then later, when I pursued hypnotherapy, which is highly effective, I've had clients that are veterans and military members, and I've been able to help them get a resolution by introducing them to themselves just in a different manner, introduce them to different topics that would fully help them out. I do believe that in the military, they do teach you how to survive in certain circumstances. They teach you how to go to a war situation and to fight and to win generally. But at the same time, to take care of yourself holistically and to help yourself, it's really something that I think is not utilized that could help both in the mind and the body and even your success and money and your family and your emotions.
When did you discover your connection to metaphysics? You multiple times have told me things come to you, it comes to your intuition, and you just somehow discover formulas about somebody's mental struggles and other things, which is completely related to getting over mental blocks.
At some point in my life, maybe initially I was getting messages to, and I always thought they were myself, and maybe they were. But after a certain point in time, I started to take these tools that I was using, like I said, meditation, contemplating, learning, thinking of spiritual concepts. So I started to notice that they were a little bit more creative, a little bit different than what I was normally used to. So as I started to get more into the self-help world and I started to develop myself more, I started to notice that these were important. And then when I started to learn a little bit about manifestation, about how they align with your thoughts and with your emotions and with your mind, and I learned about the subconscious mind, I started to notice that the messages would kind of come in a little bit more frequently. And as I got older and this continued to happen and I would study these other concepts, it would happen more. And then as I paid attention to them, they would happen even more. Also, when I was doing hypnotherapy, I noticed that the more people I worked with over and over, I could start to feel their energy or their emotions is another way to put it. And after a while, I could kind of feel what they were feeling. And from there, I would be able to kind of interpret the situation as if it was happening to me in a way. And I was like, oh, if I'm in this situation, how would I get myself out if I were them? And I know that it sounds probably strange, especially considering that when, I started that practice when I was about 28, 29, and I could have clients of different cultures, different backgrounds, different ages, different sex. So it's like, yeah, might be really hard to imagine myself as a 47-year-old mother when I'm in my late 20s. But the more I did that and the more I practiced and the more clients and people I saw, the more I was able to help. For me, that's my experiences. And so it gave me an ability to be able to see multiple sides of a situation and to be able to come up with solutions.
Do you recall the first time it came to you?
I can remember the first time I noticed that I was able to take on different emotions or feelings of others. And there's a good part and there's a bad part. So the good part is it allows you to connect with other people in a way and feel and see the situation more than what they're telling you, or even if they're uncertain. The bad part is that it can make you more sensitive, and if you're not aware of it, it's already almost like too late. So I learned that quick, and I learned how to socially play the role that I would need to be successful. But if I was taking on other people's emotions, it caused me to be sensitive in a way that would be seen as unfavorable. And so a lot of people who do therapy work or energy work or other type of work, this is a common thing, that if they don't balance themselves out to protect themselves against other people's energy, or prepare themselves mentally that they can take it on, and it increases chances of burnout. It can make people sick after a while. It can make them tired because they do take on the energy in a way.
So how did that make you feel when you experience something like this? Somebody else is feeling this emotion, and you being there without them having to communicate this, you are able to not only understand what they are going through, you are able to feel it inside you. Like, this is not something taught in school or anywhere else. Or did you have any previous ideas about it, or did you read it somewhere?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I can't say it enough that the hypnotherapy was just the most interesting art, craft, skill you could ever do, because just you could have 100 different people and they could tell the same exact story, and it would be a wildly different experience. I do know that it did eventually begin to form what you would call triggers in a way. Like, for instance, when I would hear a story about a client who maybe as a child was abused or didn't have enough to eat, even though I wasn't in those situations myself, all of them, but in those cases, I found that I would have a more visceral reaction, and I would have to kind of shake off the feeling afterwards, or what they would say is ground. Specific different experiences could hit me in different ways or affect me in different ways, even though I myself have never experienced them. As I got older, I started paying a lot more attention to myself and my thoughts and feelings and some sensations, and my awareness increased a bit to care about that instead of everything else in the world.
That's an interesting way to look at it, but you yourself have went on, instead of chasing for cars and everything, you have chased degrees, knowledge.
Inside of each person is a little bit of patterning in the world that we live in, that there are a lot of things that are intuitive. There's a lot of things that we catch on to naturally. And the catch is that when it comes natural to us, we take it for granted. Some people would say it's common sense. Some people would say, it's implied. The catch is that one person's experience, a lot of time they project it onto others, saying, oh, you should know that. But I find that's not true at all. So I'll give you an example. What is common sense to the rocket scientist may not be common sense to the geologist, which may not be common sense to somebody who deals with microbiology. And so when you say, hey, that's common sense, or you should know that, each one of those individuals will have a wildly different answer on what they believe is common sense, or that it's implied. We have a term in America called street smarts. That some people are book smart, some people are street smart. And in both situations, those are important, where depending on the environment you're in. In my case, I kept going to school a lot of times because I wanted to be successful. And later I started to learn that what was implied, or what might have been common sense for the people who were successful, those are attributes and knowledges that they took for granted that I didn't have, or that I didn't know, because my background, I had to learn a lot on my own. So along in that journey, I kept going to school because I wanted to get to the next level, and to the next level, and to the next level. And kind of coincidentally is that the American economy has been very wild since like 2006. We've dealt with different recessions, some would say even depressions, and just these massive market hits. And so in doing that and learning that, I learned about myself, and I learned about the markets, and I learned about the holistic aspects of success. So I learned a lot about success. So when I started to take it back to myself, started to focus more on the inside, I started to learn myself, to know the different parts that I was like, that's not what I used to be like, or that's not what regular or balanced looks like. I'm aware of now what the problems are. I'm aware of what to do. I'm aware of how to do it. I feel that has helped me out significantly with other clients and understanding people in general and what's going on in the why, and also the how.